Hello there and welcome to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly and today I am actually Last Minute Lucy. We're going to do some graduation cards, which I actually need tomorrow. I have two granddaughters graduating, one from kindergarten and one from high school. So I got home from work tonight and pulled out our gorgeous Dream Maker pattern papers and cardstocks. So gorgeous. We're going to have so much fun with these in June and July, but I thought I would use just a couple inches of two different patterns with the number balloons stamp and thin cut, which is Z4695. So fun, big, large number balloons, and it provides the thin cuts and the stamps, and it has the strings and all kinds of little extras with it, as well as the Future is Bright stamp and thin cuts. I love the little graduation hat, and I thought I needed the slimline die to be able to make these into slimline cards and a fun shaker. So I'm pulling out the numbers needed to make 2023, and I actually have to make 2023 twice. So my granddaughter Gracie May graduates from high school. Her party is tomorrow and graduation is on Saturday. And then my granddaughter Claire Adeline graduates from kindergarten next week. So I need two that say 2023. And I love that you can just do a 2x12 and get all of those numbers. So now I'm going to stamp on each of the numbers to give it that nice defined balloon look. So I'm just adding my stamp to the block and seasoning it by pressing into it with my hand and getting it a little bit more worn, putting a little oil from my skin on those. I'm going to stamp these in intense black, and I feel like that's going to be a good accent for these. What I'm loving about what we're about to do today is that we're barely using any pattern paper at all, because that Dream Maker pattern paper, I know you all, and I know what you're saying, it's too pretty to cut. But what's wonderful about this style of card is we're literally going to use 2 inches by 12 inches on two different patterns in the whole entire pack. You saw that it was a gorgeous, gorgeous pack of marbly cardstocks and patterns. And so I'm just going through now and stamping off a little bit to season each of the number stamps and stamping them, and I'm loving that balloon look on those gorgeous patterns, and the marbly patterns that intertwine with each other are going to make this project look like it has way more pattern paper in it than it really does. I love to cheat a little bit and be able to have beautiful cards without using up very much of my gorgeous pattern paper so that I can reserve it for creating lots of other things. So once I get the numbers done, I'm just going to look at the cardstock. So I've created the numbers out of the Dream Maker pattern paper, but I would like to create the graduation caps out of still the marbly look, but a more solid look. So I'm just trying to match up which one of the patterns would go with each of the cards. So I have different numbers and colors of numbers for Claire's card as I do for Gracie's card. So I might do 2 different colors, but actually when all is said and done, I feel like this gorgeous, rich, pink color, marbly color is just too gorgeous. And so I'm going to make both graduation caps out of that and then add the tassel using the bright yellow. And I think it's going to be so fun. And as you can see here, I'm using either 2 inches or less. I think maybe 1 3/4 of an inch, and then even less of this marbly yellow pattern paper, maybe about 3/4 of an inch. I can't quite see, but it could be an inch, but very, very little pattern paper. Now I'm using scrap white, and I love to use our envelopes, our large 12 by 12 envelopes for that. And I'm just going to run all of these pieces through the die cutter at once. So I've trimmed down the paper so that I can do all of the thin cuts, even though it's 3 different pattern papers. And because I'm creating 2 cards, one for Gracie May and one for Claire Adeline, I'm going to double these up. And I love our Byra die cutter, our Close to My Heart branded die cutter, because it allows you to feed two at a time. So now I'm going to use our wonderful stitched rectangle slimline. So this is designed for slimline cards, and it makes these great frames. I have used and used and used these because I love to use things that really make you look fancier than you really are. And once you add that stitched frame to anything, it really fancies up the card. Now is my question of how I'm going to arrange my hat and my letters, because I want to make this into a slimline shaker. I think that's going to be so much fun, and I'm not sure what elements I'm going to use inside the shaker, but I can just envision the confetti falling from the sky and the big number balloons and the cheers and the pomp and the circumstance. And so I'd like to toggle these letters a little bit, because on the stamp set, there's these great strings. There's some swirly strings and some straight strings. And so I would like to add the little balloon bottoms and the strings, and yet be able to decorate the left side of the card with the graduation cap. It's so cute with the marble cardstock. And then once we put that tassel on there, I believe I'll probably put the graduation cap on the outside of the shaker, and I'll put the numbers on the inside of the shaker. Now, I know when you're adding the frame with the shaker element, you're going to have a little bit of a thicker card. You're going to have that foam that creates a thicker card, but it's actually still so much fun. And yes, it will be a little tiny bit more shipping because of the thickness of the card, but I'm actually hand delivering my cards to my granddaughters. So it's no problem for me to have a little bit more popped up on the outside of the card. If you were mailing it, you might want to make it flush. So again, I'm just organizing the numbers, and then I'm going to make small pencil marks so I know where to stamp the balloon strings. So I'm using intense black ink on all of these, and I will stamp those balloon strings, even though there's going to be the shaker window over the top, and some of the bottoms won't show, but it'll still give it a finished look. When anyone shakes the card, they'll be able to see the balloon strings in there. And because there's 4 different styles of balloon strings, I've actually kind of cheated, and I put one on one side of the block and one on the other side of the block. And I'm actually using one side, then I'm flipping it and using it on the other side, so that it looks like 4 different styles of strings on the balloons, even though I'm only using 2 stamps, and I'm using the top and the bottom of the stamp. And so now I'm just finishing that second card, and I'm going to put the letters in place. And I really like the way it looked, where they were just kind of overlapped, like balloons in a balloon bouquet that are sort of just touching each other, and they can spell out or print out to 2023 and just look cohesive, but yet have all the flavor. I just feel like it's flavors. I don't know why. It just reminds me of a mix of those really bright, fun colors. And I love that wash look, almost a tie-dye look and a marble look and a wash look all in one. And so I'm just sort of alternating some colors and getting them to where I think that looks really cute, and yet leaving enough space so that the frame can go over that, and I'll be able to add the acetate window. So I'm using our slimline card bases and envelopes. I'm using, of course, the stitched slimline frame. I'm using of course, the 2 Stampin' Thin Cut sets, if I didn't say it already, Number Balloons and The Future is Bright. And I'm just going to add some different pieces into the foam and acetate. So we have the foam and acetate windows that go with our slimline cards. I'm actually, because there's a little bit of give in the Tombow, I'm removing the number because I felt like it was too much of the same color next to each other. This set of numbers for some reason, the way you put the thin cuts onto the marbly pattern paper is sort of random the way that they come out. So I kind of wanted to just spread the color out a little bit so all of the colors didn't look the same. The slimline foam and acetate, we have actually, I'm using the open slimline that is just the rectangle slimline, but we have slimline die cuts that also have other types of stitched frames, including circles. And that's a really, really fun one too. So yeah, so this one worked out really great because I knew I was going to need a longer space to add the large balloons. Now I'm just kind of playing around, now that I have the numbers the way that I want them, playing around with how I want the sentiments to go. And I created the sentiments using the banner, and there's so many fun ones to choose from. I really liked it, the class of, so that it could say class of 2023. We have you did it, congratulations, hey cool hat, and the future is bright. So I chose to use the future is bright, and I think I'll use that one for Claire Adeline because she's graduating from kindergarten. And then for Gracie May, I think I'll go ahead and use the let's see, what did the future, or no, not the class of 2023. Goodness, lost my train of thought there. So now I'm just putting the little balloon bottoms on there. There's a teeny tiny stamp in here that is the little bottom of the balloon part that just gives it a nice finishing touch. And as it turns out, you're not going to see all the tiny detail because there's going to be so much confetti or sequins or whatever I decide to use in there. Some of that's going to be covered up, but I just kind of loved all the detail they have in the stamp set. So they have some little confetti, some stars, some strings, the little balloon, and little tiny things that I call foofs, little foofs that you can use to jazz up your cards. And look at already with the 2023 on there, how much color is in there, and I only used the 2 inches of that pattern paper. It's just incredible how even on a white background, you don't need much else inside a slimline card when you have colorful pattern paper that you're using on the icons. I was tempted to maybe put a couple strips of pattern paper in the center of the slimline, but it's not needed because of all the marbly color in there. So now I'm taking a few of those foofs off of the stamp set, a large and a small asterisk or starburst, and I put them both on the same block, mostly because I'm lazy. I just like to get all the stamping done as quickly as possible. I'm not really a stamper by nature. I did not even know how to stamp before I became a maker in Close to My Heart, which was 2015. And it took me a year or so being in Close to My Heart to venture into stamps. And I found it kind of intimidating and scary. And now that I've done it, it just adds so much to everything. It's absolutely phenomenal how it can change scrapbooking pages and cards. So now I have my acetate window, and I'm just taking my piercing tool because there is a kind of a dull side and a side that isn't quite as dull of the acetate window. And the real filmy, milky looking side, if you take your fingernail and you scratch it along that, or you take your piercing tool and you scratch it along that, it will pull that protective coating away, and then you can peel it off. So now I've just added my liquid Tombow to the frame, and it just fits perfectly to put the acetate window on it. And now I'm going to leave my hands off of it and let it dry. And in the meantime, I'm going to go through all of my wonderful sparkly beads and bits and figure out what I think might look nice over the top of those colors. So I'm sort of just going to pull my initial choices out over to the right. There's some clear beads, there's some golden beads, there's some gold sequins and some silver sequins, there's some gold gold stars. For some reason, I kept gravitating toward gold. I was trying out the colors, but I wasn't quite able to color match and to sort of get this vibe that I was looking for. So I'm also looking in my packages, because a lot of times with our specials, we get different packages besides the sequins and the beads and the fun things that we have in our core book. Occasionally we get packages of these types of things that come with specials from time to time, and I save all of those in my little crate so that I can pull those out as needed. So this is kind of my initial gut instinct of what I thought was going to look nice. I really keep gravitating toward the gold, and so I think I'm going to take the clear and the silver away and just stick with the gold. It's kind of a hard decision because I love those clear. But I think maybe if I added a little bit of the gold beads to the silver sequins, add some gold stars, and then some clear beads, and just do a mix. I mean, what the heck? Why not? So I am a little sad. It's a little bittersweet. Gracie May is kind of my kindred spirit. She's the granddaughter that's graduating from high school, and her party is tomorrow at 4. And then her graduation is the next day on Saturday. And so that's why I got home from work tonight and I'm like, I'm last minute Lucy. Like, why do I do this to myself? I'm like getting ready to go to a wedding or a birthday party or a graduation, and like the day before or the morning of, I'm like, gotta make a card. So here I am. But Gracie is my crafter. She is one who can sew, and she does canning with me, and we love to make jelly together, and she and I can craft for hours. She's so talented. She quilts, she sews, she paints, she repurposes. She's just one of those unusual children who just has all kinds of natural talent and the ability to do it herself. And so I'm very sad and very happy. She's going to go on. She's wanting to be in some kind of maybe a medical field, or dental hygienist maybe. She's going to go do her generals, and she's going to one of our state universities here. So if I was talking too much and you didn't know what I was doing, I'm using my anti-static pouch to take away some of the static, and I'm flicking a little bit of that cornstarch powder into my mixture of sequins, so that when I put them on the card and I turn the acetate window over, it doesn't have so much static clinging that it just sucks it up to the top. So basically, after adhering the acetate window with the glue to the front frame, I put the back frame foam, the sticky foam, onto the back of the frame, and left one of the edges with the protective coating on it until I'm ready to do what I'm doing now and turn it over. And so it's so wonderful and incredible and magical how it just fits so perfectly. Did you see how easy that was? So many people see it, and I think part of the problem is if you manhandle the foam. I like to put some of the acetate, the powder from the acetate pouch, on my fingertips before I handle the foam. And I'm just really careful to touch the sides of the foam, because if you start to touch it a lot, it will get misshapen. But if you just barely touch it and you use some of that powder from the acetate pouch, the anti-static pouch, it will keep your fingers from sticking, and it will just go on there so nicely. Now I'm adding the bottom of the graduation cap and the top, and I've added a little bit of foam tape, basically from leftover from what's so ingenious is the frames, the sticky foam frames. They've put instead of wasting the inside, they put little foam squares that we can use to pop up things. And so I thought the top of the cap, and again, it will add more dimension. So if you're mailing it, you probably wouldn't want to, but because I'm hand delivering, I've popped it up and I just added that tassel on there. Prior to doing this, I did a black journaling pen and I just went around the graduation caps to give those a little bit more definition and define. Oh my goodness, it's coming together and it's so cute. I love class of, and it just fits perfectly. Again, adding a little foam tape and the tassel can go right over the edge without covering up the sentiment. I was struggling a little bit with Claire Adeline's card because the sentiment is a little bit longer and I don't want to cover up the sentiment. So I'm probably going to move a little bit more toward the right, but I don't want to cover up the 2 from 2023. So I think I'm going to have to work with that one a little bit. So I'm just adding a little bit more foam tape here. And oh my goodness, it's so festive. It's so fun. I can almost hear pomp and circumstance now. It's so fun, so easy. 2 inches of that 2-inch strip of that pattern paper, and then hardly any paper in a card like this. So I love that you can do this with scraps, or you could get so many cards out of one pack. And there's just so much paper and that beautiful Dream Maker that you can have so much fun. We're going to make lots more projects with Dream Maker because it is a dream come true. Isn't that fun? I absolutely love it. So really, really, if you had fun and you've been inspired, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe. I'd love for you to hang out with me a little more, and I hope you can get your graduation cards done in time for graduation. Happy scrapping, everyone!